Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 23rd December 2017. The first article, High Court quashes sanction to prosecute Ashok Chavan. Here we need to understand 2 points. One is, who shall give the powers to prosecute officers in the public office? And second, what is meant by quashing by the High Court mean? So when I say to prosecute, there are few things we need to understand. Previously, if any officer above the rank of Joint Secretary, if he has to be prosecuted, government's permissions were necessary. Later it was challenged in the Supreme Court, and what Supreme Court said is, this is against to right to equality. The reason being is, the officers are discriminated, officers above the rank of Joint Secretary are discriminated against others. Now, to prosecute an officer, no permission is necessary if we go by the Supreme Court judgment. Taking another perspective to this, what Tamil Nadu government did is, yes, to maintain equality, permission is necessary to prosecute any public official. That's how they changed the law. So, today in Tamil Nadu, to prosecute any public official, permission of the government is necessary. The biggest hindrance over here is permission was never given in time. And second aspect, what is meant by quashing of an order? So, if any person who is accused in a particular case, if he feels that he has been framed into it, once the charge sheet is filed, he can go for quashing of the order from the High Court. So, this is what Mr. Ashok Chavan did and got a favorable judgment from the High Court of Bombay. And the next aspect is on editorial page. The first is reading Rahul Gandhis hand. I am not going to discuss this from a political perspective. Let us talk it from a much larger picture. One is, in a democracy, narrative is very much important. And this narrative based on the facts upholds the democratic spirit. It means there has to be a strong opposition that can give a different or alternative narrative and different perspective. So in this context, let us put something over here. So it appeared that there is no alternative to the BJP and its winning spree. And lack of opposition has weakened these choices to the citizens. So in this context, Congress is able to develop an alternative narrative based on development, based on persona of individuals, and also secularism in recent Gujarat elections. So the first thing is, with regard to the persona, a binary is created. When Prime Minister Modi is said to be representing power and authority, Rahul Gandhi is said to be representing a low-key civility. And then politics of love, politics of hatred, politics of aggression, politics of passiveness. So this is how the binaries are being written on the persona and the way of conducting of politics by them. And second aspect with regard to development, the development based on investment, development based on neglect of agriculture. So these are also highlighted in Gujarat elections. Finally, secularism. So with regard to this, there is a criticism on the Congress that it is moving more towards soft Hindutva. But if we carefully observe, building affinity or relationships across the community in a pluralistic fashion, it's a very long-term project. So this can only be achieved through power in hand. So in this context, means and ends, how they are expected to differ in the short term, but they can be aligned in the long term. That is the argument made by Mr. Sampath. The next article is Affirmative Water. It is about recent happenings in West Asia. You know that President Trump has decided to shift the US Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. You know, Jerusalem is the major issue of contention between Israel and Palestine. And the right-wing leadership in Israel claims right over the Jerusalem. So here, UN General Assembly has voted in favor of a negotiated settlement for Jerusalem. It is also in alignment with the long-term policy of India and India has voted in favor of it in General Assembly. So here, international diplomacy has saw a new low. United States tried to threaten developing countries not to vote in favor of this particular resolution. Let me put it this way. Aid politics have determined the international diplomacy for long. So after 1991, global politics can be better defined as politics of aid. So in this, US has threatened the countries of depriving them of its aid if they vote against it. And second aspect is, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, used derogatory comments as a house of lies, etc. against UN General Assembly. So, it can be clearly stated that UN General Assembly failed to curtail the interests of the powerful nations. And second aspect is, India has voted in favor of the resolution in spite of it being close to United States and Israel. And in January, Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu is expected to visit India. Already there is a strong defense relationship between India and Israel. So what this article, a capital mistake, states is, more than India needing Israel, Israel needs India. And similarly in the case of United States, US is looking for the markets of India, and the defense market of India is very big for US to miss it. That's what this article emphasizes on. And then missing the pulse. So let's understand, any market functioning depends on predictability. So let me put it this way. India has recently raised import duties on various types of pulses. Why did it do that? The reason is there is a bumper harvest in India, and to protect our farmers and to avoid the import surges, it has raised the import duties onto them. But it has a danger in itself. The reason is import markets, if they suffer from this unpredictability, they try to move away from India to the other markets. Whenever we lose a crop again, obviously these countries will not be supporting India. So Prime Minister Modi, when he visited Mozambique, he signed an agreement to double the import of pulses. All of a sudden, if these imports decrease, Mozambique faces the uncertainty. So predictability and income security for our farmers is essential, and at the same time, the deals which are being made with the other countries with regard to our food security or to maintain our food security have to be honored in the long run. And then let's go to the next page. Proud of India, says Palestinian envoy. It is about India's voting in support of negotiated settlement for the issue of Jerusalem. And then there is one more issue. Abbas rules out US peace plan. So Muhammad Abbas, so what he clearly states is, he is not in favor of US mediated solution for Israel-Palestine conflict. That is what he clearly states. And then RCEP, India hardens a stand ahead of ASEAN summit. So regional comprehensive economic partnership, it consists of ASEAN, India, China, and then Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand. These are its members. So what is the major problem with RCEP? It is more of a kind of a twin of Trans-Pacific Partnership. And many a times when India signed the free trade agreements, they are not very favorable or not much benefited it. So RCEP also can be in the similar line. Why? The trade in services did not get due attention under RCEP. The trade in goods was given preference, and it is going against our Make in India. And the third aspect is the intellectual property rights, they are given undue protection which can damage the India's interests in the long run. So that's why India is thinking twice and taking a cautious approach towards free trade agreements in general and multilateral agreements in particular. That's what this article is about. And in the last page, I gave you the notes that is available at laix.in/CivilsPrep. Thank you very much and all the best.